Well guys, we were successful. We managed to keep him on deck, but the knife is damaged.
Okay, Commodore, so what's happening?
I'm cooking dinner. Dinner tonight is, today's Monday, the 9th of May. So we will have lamb chops.
Ooh, lovely.
And the sauce is a surprise for the captain, so I'm not divulging that, but fabulous. And some pasta.
Ooh.
And that's going to be fabulous, and you'll have a glass of wine. And that's going to be our dinner.
Good morning, campers. It's now Wednesday, the 11th, I think, of May. Last night, Tuesday night, we passed the 900 mile mark. Tonight we've passed the 1,000 mile mark travelled. The 900 mile mark was significant because that was more or less halfway. It's a good feeling to have broken the back of it, if you like. I got up 50 minutes ago at 3 o'clock to relieve the Commodore, and I've jibed the Jenny in an attempt to get closer to our waypoint that we're trying to get towards. It's only a weather routing waypoint, no more significant than that. But nonetheless, we're heading along nicely. The wind has been setting between 15 and 20, I suppose, for the last half hour or hour or so. Before that it was sort of 10 to 15, but it's perked up a little bit. But as you can hear, the getting the Jenny to remain filled is a problem that I haven't solved. When I got up and I went out to release the preventer on the Jenny, and in preparation to jibe it, I discovered we'd caught not a flying fish as we did yesterday. We've caught a squiddly diddly. Here we go, a little baby squiddly diddly. So he's made a rather nasty mess on our deck, which I've attempted to clear up, and I shall try and clean him, and we'll have him for breakfast. It's now breakfast time, so it's time for squiddly diddly, sauteed in a little bit of garlic butter, salt and pepper. Let's try him out.
Poor little fish.
Yes, poor little thing, as Sandra says.
Poor little thing, and I refuse to eat
Lovely. Even if I say so myself. Lovely. Anyway, this is our first attempt at tuna rolls, what we call them. We bought the seaweed wraps in Thailand thinking we'd use them regularly, catching fish regularly, and of course they've been sitting in a cupboard waiting for an opportunity. But here we go. We haven't quite got the right rice. This is just regular rice, and we should have some sort of sticky rice, I think, but nonetheless it will taste just as nice. Looks great. A little bit of wasabi in here somewhere, and some ginger. Lovely. Supposed to be a pretty calm night, steady winds, and I suppose a lot of the trouble is my mistake. The plan had always been that I would not sail at night without at least one reef in the mainsail, but it was so calm yesterday, with sort of 10 to 15 knots for ages, and I was expecting it to be much the same last night, that we set off in the night without putting in a reef. It was okay for a while, but the wind slowly got up until it was sitting at about 20 knots, which was still sort of okay. But at this stage I was thinking maybe it's time to put a reef in, and then suddenly it started to get worse, and Sandra jumped out of bed. She was having her rest. She jumped out of bed and came to help, which was great. and we quickly put a reef in the main, and then immediately decided we needed a reef in the Jenny, so we put a reef in the Jenny as well. And then we came in and had a cup of coffee, and then the autopilot started what I thought we'd fixed in Mauritius. When we took a link out of the chain on the autopilot and shortened it so that it didn't jump its sprocket. But it started jumping its sprocket seriously last night. So we stuck another reef in the main, and we're now running with 2 reefs in the main and a reef in the Jenny. Still doing about 7 knots. The wind's sitting pretty steadily now at 20 knots, so it's not so bad. Just after we put in the second reef in the main, it got up to 30 knots for a while. So I'm pretty glad we put the second reef in. And we'll just leave it as is just now. Big day today. My son's expecting his first child. My son and daughter-in-law expecting their first child. So a big day. Wishing them all the best. Okay guys, it's the 12th of May.
12th of May 2022.
And we're celebrating. Why are we celebrating?
We're celebrating because
my first grandson, my second grandchild, Teebs, name to be revealed later, Teebs was born this morning at
10:24 a.m. in
UK time.
And we are sailing along, and we have been celebrating since 11:24 a.m. our time.
So we're a little bit squiddly diddly.
We're a little bit squiddly diddly.
For which we apologise, but nonetheless, it's a lovely day here on the South Atlantic.
If you could only have a smell in our little house.
We've got the air fryer.
We've got the air fryer with a chicken, a special chicken on Thursday, the 12th of May, and we will be doing freshly cooked vegetables for dinner tonight. But we're drinking more than we're eating.
Because we're celebrating.
We're celebrating to learn colour and
Teebs. Best wishes to all 3 of you. We love you and we look forward to.
We love you. Thank you for giving. I have actually not been drinking since Sunday, and only.
Now look at the state of it.
No,
But about, what is it, about 500 miles to go to
500 miles to St Helena, and then we're going to do the real celebration. That is great.
Cheers everyone.
Cheers everyone. To South African. We think you cannot have fun on the ocean. A bit rocky, but rock the boat, don't rock the boat over. Rock the boat, don't slip the boat over.
And we're heading straight to
St Helena, here we come.
365 miles to go or something like that. 365. Route 365.
Look at the view, guys. Come on. The waves are coming, following us.
Well, campers, it's Friday afternoon, Friday the 13th of May, and it's a nice day on the ocean. We've got enough wind, everything looking pretty good. The only thing is we're not getting any sun. We're not making any solar power at all. So it's just as well the generator is working okay. Right, there we go. Mustn't complain too much. Nobody's listening. the temperature of the water is 22.5 degrees centigrade, according to the gizmo upstairs. Doesn't look very enticing, I have to say, but I have had my toes in it. It does feel reasonably warm. Certainly an awful lot warmer than it was in Hout Bay. We passed 1,400 miles sailed earlier on, so we're down to just about 350. So progress is being made. We're going more or less straight to St Helena now. I'm erring on the west side of direct track because that seems to be where the wind stays longest. It's supposed to die off depending which model, either tomorrow afternoon or sometime between tomorrow afternoon, Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon. So yeah, it is what it is. And on the instrument side, we're doing 6-7 knots out of 12, which is nice. As I say, I'm just erring on the west side of the direct track because that's where the wind stays the longest tomorrow or the next day. But we're doing nicely. 6-7 knots, 8 knots. Can't complain too much at all. The Jenny is behaving reasonably well, managing to keep it reasonably full, so that's okay. And I've done my modification to the A-frame at the front to try and protect the sail, the foot of the sail, which has taken a terrible bashing already, and it's only, as I say, 1,400 miles of sailing done to it, so it's crazy. We did 6,000 miles crossing the Indian Ocean with the previous head sail, and it had this solid sunbrella on it. The stuff that's on there seems to be very soft. Needs to be a lot thinner and softer than this stuff. So disappointing, almond sails, disappointing. Okay guys, I don't believe it. It's still Friday the 13th and it's about, I don't know, 7 o'clock or something like that, nearly 7 o'clock SA time. Of course the time has moved on. We've gone a lot further west than we were before, and we're now in the Western Hemisphere. In fact, I came up half an hour or so ago to make a minor adjustment to the heading for the autopilot, which I can't do from inside, and while I was there I heard this funny dink noise, sort of metal on metal, and I thought that's a funny noise, and I looked around to see what I could see, and lo and behold, what did I see? The Genoa was no longer attached at the top, and it was sliding down the foil. Sandra and I have bundled it up and tied it in as best we can to make sure it doesn't blow away, which is tricky, but I can't believe it. We had these brand new sails, which are Genoa particularly is being destroyed by the A-frame, which is ridiculous because catamarans, they all have an A-frame like this, and the previous one did not get destroyed sailing 6,000 miles from Thailand, so I don't see why sailing 6 days from Cape Town should destroy the sail as much as it has. Anyway, here is the shackle. Clearly it didn't have a locking wire on it or a locking cable tie on it, and it's come undone, and the tink must have been the pin falling out. So obviously I need to go up there and get the spinner down and reattach the sail and wind it back up again, but we ain't doing that in the middle of the ocean, so we'll just have to do without it until we get to Jamestown. But even that is kind of out, not a terribly sheltered anchorage, so it's not going to be ideal, but there we go. I am sick and tired of paying people good money to do jobs and then they only do half a good job, and I have to mop up the mess that they leave. It is pathetic, absolutely pathetic. Call themselves professionals. Okay, Commodore, would you like to explain to the viewers what's just taken place? you raise your spinnaker, you should do it behind the Genoa. But since our Genoa came down, that was not possible. So we've got it up where we're just getting the various lines organised. And the bastard wrapped itself around the foil in a huge fangle at the top and at the bottom. And we have just struggled for an hour, I think, over an hour, getting it up and getting it back down again. And we're both clean crackers. Yes.
John says we're going to fly from the castle. I had butterflies in my
Commodore, how are we tonight?
pretty tired. Sorry. Good. Saturday, 14th of May.
Yes.
And we've had a busy day.
Yes.
We had washing, we had beautiful sunshine to dry the washing, and then we had a rolly tasker encounter.
It didn't go well.
Which did not go very well. More details to follow. But anyway, now we're having dinner. I made a typical South African dania boerewors with some scorched onions.
What's dania mean?
Dania is coriander. The sausage has got coriander inside, which is delicious. Then I've done a coleslaw, homemade carrot, cucumber, coleslaw, and some avocado. And earlier at about 5:30 we had some sushi, which I handmade myself from our
catch.
Our sushi catch, our tuna catch with some rice, what do you call it, the seaweed paper with the rice, special rice I prepared. So we scoffed that at about 5:30 with some cocktails. So now it's dinner time, and then we see how the evening goes.
And we're closing down, and it says 200 miles, but that's to the waypoint. We've got another 6 miles to go after that. So, but we're closing down on 200 miles. Sadly, without the Jenny and with the wind dropping down, and it's forecast to drop even lower, 10 knots now or so, we're only getting about 4 knots out of that.
Very lulling.
So not good. Likely to get worse.
No flying surprises.
No, hopefully not.
Over
anyway.
And out. Dinner time.
So, Commodore, what's going down?
Hey, good morning. Today is Monday, the 16th of May, and we have just spotted land, direction St Helena. Isn't that right, Captain?
Land ho! I hope you can see it. Just sort of up there.
Just down there, we can see a little.
It was a little clearer a minute or two ago. Somehow it's just got a little bit of misty.
A little bit misty, but it's there.
Yeah. We're about 30 miles, a bit less than 30 miles away from the island, and we have to go around the backside to Genoa, which is a bit of a pain, but there we go. We should be there this evening. Sadly, we're motoring. The wind is negligible. Around about 6 o'clock last night, it suddenly disappeared down to about 5 knots, and we had a couple of excursions up into the Thames, but not much. So I think we're going to give up on the sail and put it away and wrap it up in its bag. And that will be it for this journey, this section. So, Commodore, what's passing?
Whew, beautiful day. Yes. We've been up quite early this morning, but it was quite worth it, really worth it, because we've woken up to this beautiful ocean. It's really calm at the moment.
It wasn't quite like this morning though, was it?
It was not. It was a bit overcast and looking not very promising, but the sun's come out. We've done our homework.
Yes, done a few chores.
We've done our chores. John did most of it. We put down the sails,
Into the way,
put them all in their homes.
And we've got our Q flag on it, flying up there somewhere.
Yes, our quarantine flags flying as well.
And what do we have here?
We've noticed that St Helena is coming closer to us. How great is that?
Fabulous.
St Helena in the background.
And you're living the life.
Be careful because I might be in the water.
Yeah. I see you're living the life.
That's what it says, living the life.
Live the life. Excellent. What a lovely day. It's been warming up for days really, but suddenly today it is scorchio.
Yes, we were so silly, we were so cold before we left Hart Bay, and guess what we did? We bought a heater.
Yeah.
I told John that was a big mistake. But
The Commodore insisted. Guys, we've decided that it's refreshment o'clock. You can see St Helena clearly now, and we're making good progress towards it. So it's refreshment o'clock. Cheers, everybody. The trouble with long passages is that people can get bored, and when they get bored, they do things. For example, you only have to fall asleep on the couch for 5 minutes. You end up with your toenails painted pink. The Commodore. What am I to do with the Commodore?
We just caught a dorado and now it's cleaning. The chief is in charge.
And all you see is my feet.
Johnny is busy cleaning. Our fresh catch for today, the 16th of May, as we are approaching our landing to St Helena. So we're not going to be starving for the next at least 2 weeks, right, Tom?
Yeah,
Donna's doing a fabulous job there.
not sure about that.
We're doing the best we can. Such beautiful fish. Beautiful, it came out glittering in yellow. This is the entrance to St Helena, where we are approaching for our anchorage on a buoy. We are approaching this beautiful little town. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Saw a couple of dolphins earlier, but they disappeared. Captain is preparing for parking.
We're parked up and we're having a refreshment, but it occurred to me I ought to run through the numbers with you before Sandra and I get completely lashed, which is a possibility, because that was a pretty exciting bit of parking. Fortunately the weather is very benign and there's virtually no current, but as I say, I had to jump off and stand on the buoy, which is a bit like standing on a medicine ball on a moving floor, while Sandra fed me the rope and the lines, and I got them through the shackle. Oh, so that was quite hard work. But anyway, we got it done, and that's nice. So let's just have a look at the numbers. Okay. Let's go in here a bit. Okay, so the trip distance was 788 miles. We did 102.4 today, pretty much all motoring, and we arrived about an hour ago, I think, maybe. So yeah, so call that 5:30, or 5:15. So that was 12 days and whatever that is, 12 days and 8 hours. So not bad going. Pity about the Genoa. We would have got here a bit faster with it if we'd still had the Genoa. So according to this, we managed an average speed of 6 knots. For a while we were up at 6.3. Oops, sorry. We managed a speed of 6 knots average. And for a while we were up at 6.3. but it slowed down as we got less and less wind. According to the machine, we had a maximum wind speed of 61.5 knots, which is quite a lot. It was certainly pretty breezy, but that sounds pretty excessive to me. I don't know. I have some doubts about the numbers on this machine at times. And it says we managed 16.1 knots, so that's all good. And we're here in St Helena, our first port of call in a new country in 2022.